Hi Simmers, welcome back to my channel. This is Gimme Latte. As you see right now, I'm opening a new series of video recording as a refresher between past of the Sims medieval. You know, modern time, the dark age, we keep switching. This is going to be super exciting. So the Sims 3, I think, is the most playable, the funniest Sims game in the whole Sims series. Some of you may argue that Sims 2 is better. I would say that in a broad way, Sims 3 did apply wider and deeper Sims world experience. And there's a lot of potential and for everybody. Contrary to the Sims 2 is more narrowed down into families. But yes, this is going to be very fun. As you can see now that this series is going to be highly cheated and most just a heads up. So just a brief review of what I'm playing here is that, you know, the Sims 3 was released on 2009 and the last expansion was released on 2013. I began to play the Sims 3 from very beginning when it's released. So I've been experiencing a very bumpy time up and down through, you know, from Origin to now EA. And have lots of issue with the Sims store, and I try to fix everything out, but I'm still here. So I was playing this generation challenge mostly in the Sunset Valley, and after 7, 8, 9 generation, I could not remember, but my Sims began to get that popular disease of the code 12 of the sieving. So later turns out, I think because my sieving was too large, even though I keep cleaning the caches, but it's not worked out. So I choose one person from my last generation of the family and moved them to a new world. But it didn't turn out very well too. So I decided to renovate that new world, and it's been a while. So some of you guys could give a guess that which new world we are going, and let's go! Okay, here we are. Did you guys get where we are at right now? Yes, we are in the Bridgeport. So I think Bridgeport is probably one of the most popular world in the Sims 3. It was released from the expansion pack, the late night, and I think it is actually inherited from the Metropolitan in the Sims 2, Belladonna Cove. But of course, Bridgeport is much bigger and much better, I think. We actually get skyscrapers, even though they are just the shells and you can only build inside of some layers as a sandwich, but it still like give you this full flavor of the metropolitan city. So when I first picked my girl to move in this city, I was firstly astonished by the feeling of that it looks like super like New York. They both have this really beautiful like a peninsula in the middle, and they all have a seaport, and they all has bridges. This really looks like Brooklyn Bridge, by the way. and they both have this diagonal roadway which looks like Broadway, and they both have this central avenue and this central greenland, just looks like Central Park. But later, turns out when I do more research, there's an interview from Max's studio, and they said they are actually built up this city inspired from Vancouver. I'm not very familiar with Vancouver. I've never been there, but I was astonished. And then while doing more research, turns out there's a real Bridgeport, a city named Bridgeport in Connecticut. Even though I don't think they are really related, but I mean, certainly Max's studio didn't like do this city based on any real city. Yeah, I think it's got this good potential to be really become a real metropolitan. But when I'm playing it, turns out it looks good on outside and it's horrible, terrible inside. We're not talking about the famous routing issue or something, and if you got a routing issue, I strongly suggest you to searching on the mode thing, and there's a fixing. But besides that, all of building is just in the exterior. It's got this strong modern looking of the building. But the interior, all of the building is just crappy, I would say. And even like this, you got this land grab Greystone Mansion. This one is horrible inside. I mean, like when they look at this, why we talk about this is looks so New Yorkish because you got like a Central Park, and then you got the side of Greystone Mansion just beside the park. It looks so like Upper East Zone, you know, but inside of this chunk of Greystone building is, I don't want to use any inappropriate word, but it's awful. So after I found out that, I decided to make a pure from brand new renovation to this whole city to make it looks more like a metropolitan, and not necessarily to New York, but I think I will make it more like a big city with all of the feature it deserves. So the first thing before we start our renovation, it's really to understand how the city is working and what should we do about to rebuild a city. So just a heads up, this renovation channel is not just about the speed building recording. It's going to have like a comparison of the original and finish of the renovation. You know, like those renovate of house TV show. And it's going to full of subject of view of design, and sometimes it's going to have the terms of like how to understand the city planning and how to understand the interior planning. But I believe it's going to be super fun for everyone to watch how old crappy 1960s, 60s, 70s city to become really modern, contemporary metropolitan. So this is the map of the Bridgeport. So basically we could, before we start, we need to understand like how city got zones. So as you can see there, the Bridgeport could be generally divided into 4 zones. So one zone is really at the here is the downtown part of the Bridgeport. In here, there's bars, there's entertainments, bookstores, theaters, and all of the fun things happening here. And there's some high-end apartments really close to downtown. And from upper to there, we call the cultural zone. It's jammed by the government, city hall, and there's got fire stations, and you got library. And you also got like small, medium level residential building in here. And I would talk about the back zone. That's more like suburban school zone. There's school, there's grocery store, there's a gigantic park, which by the way they made beautiful on landscape, but not in interior or architecture. But the whole zone is scattered by this suburban residential and has this long way of the roads and a hidden fishing spot by the end in the mountains. And the next zone is about this on the edge of the old port. It's more like an industrial zone, like have this your slum pot and you have your local tavern, I would say, and you also got a research center, and you got a dancing hall, and you also have, strangely, you got a very big um, apartment with pool back in there. It's very odd piece, but I guess that's one of the flavor. Like in the port, they already have this like a factory renovated apartment. And the last zone is really when you cross over the bridge. The whole mountain zone is actually could be concluded as one zone. There are luxury houses, luxury big mansions instead of houses. But yeah, that's like the overview of the Bridgeport. Generally thinking, I won't touch most of part of the city. I know if you search online, there's New Bridgeport, there's Newport, there's Manhattan, there's clean out of the Bridgeport and letting you to rebuild everything. I think that's too much. I'm not trying to clean out everything which build from Maxis. I kind of appreciate their effort to give this like a base for us. So I also appreciate their zoning of the city. I think they did a pretty decent job there. So I'm going to just insert or switch or replace something by myself to make it better, not like totally wipe it out. So I'm just thinking to adding some few stuff, and they are going to represent to you like in later episodes one by one. Some of them is new, so there is not going to have comparison between original lot and the finished lot. Some of them is renovation, so there is going to have comparison of the original lot and the finished lot, and I'm going to present to you like how I think why this place is suck and how I'm going to make it better. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do actually is here. We got this Jane in the center of the city. I mean, logically talk is all right. There's a lot of gem in the center of the city, of course, but usually they are on the on the first level and not at the top of it. I'm not arguing about that, but what I'm thinking is that this land is super important here. It's just beside the land grab Greystone Mason mansion, and it's just close to the park, and it's actually to the city center. It's such a waste we just get a whole tall building just for a gym, you know? I feel like this land could be something more.
A few moments later.
Here we are. That's the same lot after the renovation. Yeah, this is a cathedral. Lots of city cathedral is a quite usual thing to see. A city with more history background, and they usually have more beautiful cathedrals and a church in their city. I know Sim 3 or the whole Sim series is not encourage people to working on the religion side or have any religion oriented. I think that's wonderful, but still, I just imagining this place to have my Sims to have a traditional wedding or traditional funeral, just as a photo taking spot. So I built this place, and also it's a very good view to add up into a modern city. As I said before, there's a lot of cathedrals and churches actually showing the realistic modern city, like this one in New York. And that one was in Chicago and this one in Shanghai. Those old construction, no matter it's Gothic or Romanesque, they really answering well with the modern skyscraper and have a very funny contrary between their textures and forms. So I think it's a good idea to have this cathedral building in the center of the city, so you can see how it's answering the texture environment. And I think it's a wonderful idea to have this cathedral in the center of the city instead of the glass shell of jam. And it could be, like I said, event place for gathering and wedding and funeral. Cut the talk. Let's see what's inside there and how this cathedral was built. So that's how it looks like in the whole map view. So as I said, I think this land is pretty important because it's connected with the Central Avenue and also answering this back park area. I re-established this whole zone into to mimic the high Upper East area in New York, and to make it more like a park residential living zone. Let's see. Yeah, sorry if the graphic is not that smooth. It's just sometimes when you have too many things like customized, it happened like that. But I've tried to adjust my computer to answer it faster as fast as it could. So at the front, we just get this small plaza and with two little fountains in here. One of the difficulty to renovate in the existing lot in the existing ward is that it's really restricted on the proportion of the building. So as you may already notice, like this building is actually inspired from the Notre Dame in Paris. But of course, it's been shortened and have been squeezed in a little bit because the lot is really limited. But as most of the cathedral, at the front you got like two tower, bell tower, which is usually called the West Tower, and you got this rose window, and you also have like this central tower, which is just above the crossing. Let's go check on the inside. So once when you get inside, it's just a typical cathedral floor layout. For some of you may not know that. So a typical like church or cathedral is usually in floor layout like a cross, and they have their own name. Like this part on each side is called the transept, and in the center, this wider part is called nave. And yeah, this whole zone is called nave, and at the end is called apse. And at the center part, of course, is called crossing. It's literally crossing. But they usually have like tower, as I said, like those tower called West Tower because they usually facing west. In this ward, is not, I think it's not facing west, it's actually facing east, but I got limited. I have to make it facing into the center of the city. But yes, and they usually have this central tower just above the crossing, as you can see here. And some of the cathedral, older cathedral, they actually have a monastery attached to it, which is called a cloister. But as I said, our land is really limited. I do wish we could have a large cloister like that and have some mock units around it, and it's just look beautiful. But it's just not going to achieve the buy in this land. So I just have a small, like teeny tiny cloister monastery mimic to attach to this building. But yeah, let's go inside and see how it's being worked out. So as I said, this side is more for a traditional wedding and funeral, so everything is just trying to get like the traditional feel. So all the wall is really made in stone, and the floor is made in stone. I try to make all the furniture to be as simple as possible. So the first thing you get inside is really, you got this hall and with chairs, and then for the wedding attender. And on the each side is really have this small chapel for the donations, and maybe in the future for the ash urns, which is quite realistic in most of the older church. They have this people buried inside of wall, and they have this chapel usually represent their own family, and they give the gift to the church and to show their donation. On the each side of the nave, we got the access to the tower, but along to this transept and nave, we came to the crossing. In the crossing, if you learn about art history or architecture, you will notice that this is really inspired from Bernini's crossing altar in St. Peter's in Vatican. So it's really because like this column. Once when I first play in the Sim 3, I noticed this column immediately. This single spiral column is really invented by the Bernini. And yes, it was in St. Peter's. So yeah, this whole piece of the central altar is just really inspired from it. But of course, in the Sim 3, I really got limited. I could not build an arch really inside of rooftop. Dome. I really can't build a dome inside the rooftop. So central altar is usually for the normal daily worship. But yeah, in our church, it's just purely for the environment, for the art design. After passing the central altar, there's on the left side attached with the monastery, there's small tiny confession room, which have no realistic using, but yeah, I got a chair so some people could sitting in there, I don't know, but it's just a place seems by the imagination, right? And you got like a small garden back in there, should be the teeny tiny cloister, which is a monastery. And of course, the monks is going to have this teeny tiny kitchen / reading room, teeny tiny restroom for all of the visitor, and they got like a small, I won't say bed chamber because it's too tiny. Yeah, but it's like really just a bed, and they usually have this back garden because like back in the older monastery, they just plant the vegetable for themselves and have fruit trees and have bee for honey. That's a little living attached zone attached to this cathedral. But back in there is really seriously, we got this back altar. Some of the church have the back altar, and some of them doesn't have. It's usually at the end of the apps. But I just feel it's working perfectly with this bed from vampires. It's just to give a perfect feeling of sacrifice. You really don't have coffin in the same three, and I actually, to be honest, this is a teenager game. I feel, yeah, I don't know, but it's just to give the perfect feeling of like, okay, sacrificing and coffin, death or something like that. Yeah, these statues came from the death temple of the store item, I think. But yeah, it's just working quite well, especially when it's answering with this mod I found on the death and the angel. It's just to have this super strong counterary. And oh yeah, if talking about the window, this is really like a combined window by the move object. See? Old trick. But yeah, on the other side of this, another transept is just to have more small chapels for donations. And of course, they have side doors for side access, in the city, and a door to the garden. So on the second floor, yeah, you may already notice that I use restrict floor elevation cheat to achieve to have this main altar installed in the nave. Of course, we have no religion statue. It's just pure for the aesthetic enjoyment. We got our wedding arch just right on the altar. Usually, in the real church, it's not allowed for people except fathers and monks on the tops of this high altar. But I mean, this is for my wedding and funeral. Just imagine like a young couple get married at here. It's just look, I cannot wait for that, happen in my game. And at the back there, of course, you got organs. This one is not for playing, but I have two piano on the side, so it's just a mimic thing. Anyway, organs usually got like multiple, keyboards and multiple adjustments. Anyway, so yeah, you really need two people to finish the playing if it's traditionally mechanical organ. But yeah, it's just to try to give you a feeling. I was limited by the site, so I cannot have more like thing happening on the second floor. It's basically just for access to the west tower, which is the bell tower. That's how it looks like on the second. Yeah, I try to create the Notre Dame that they have a band of the statues. That's where it came from. I use the arches to mimic the support of the side. But yeah, it works pretty well. I just need to change the texture and the color of it. And on the third floor, is basically we got more chandelier to lighten up the space and have the continuous access to the bell tower. On the fourth is just I'm trying to mimic the drapes of the walls. There's probably, I don't know, there may be some walled mode online, but I just feel like I've been very cautious about the mod I install. Most of them are official from the store. Some of them is really searching online, but I've been very cautious about that, and I don't want the view to be blocked, so I just built that reeds by these fences. And yeah, of course, you continue to have your bell tower to climb on. And at the end, it's just you got the bell tower and the bell inside. Like this. And of course, statues everywhere. And I also have some Sims 4 transfer to Sims 3 item. I mean, Sims 4 may be bad at gameplay, but it does have this wonderful, furnishing and build mode. We cannot deny that. Yeah, that's the daytime of this small church, and that's the nighttime. I love how it's really answering with the city texture and how it's answering with the central plaza. I do feel like it's a very delighted space in the Bridgeport now. I think it's much better than purely have a gym or something. And that's a night light inside. I use this change of the color and brightness of the light to create the different layers of depth of the lights. But yes, I think it's worked pretty well. Every light is in the right amount to work out. I mean, this will never be achieved in the Sims 2 or Sims 4. To be honest, I don't know how the lights working in the Sims 4 right now. After they released the I think Magic World expansion pack, I never played the Sims 4 again because it's bored me out. I spent like days and days to furnishing in the Sims 4, but then when I once play it, I just get bored in 2 hours probably. Yeah, but the Sim 3 is actually some people complain about how dark the graphic is, but it's solvable. I'm not going to introduce that in detail in my video because I'm really no technician or some expert on that. But you could search. There's a lot of like online walkthrough to teach you how to bright the Sim 3 up and how to make the graphics looks better. But if you have some question to ask me, like what are you using right now, I would be glad to give the information to you. Okay, I'm going to end here for this new series. But yeah, I hope you enjoy how I renovate the Bridgeport and help you have a fun time. Also in the Sim 3 too. But yeah, this one is a new renovation. I just moved the gym to another place and just build this from pure empty land. So I have no comparison between original and the new. But next time,
A few moments later.
so if you like, you may could guess what is this building for. Just a hint. This one was renovated from an original lot in the Bridgeport. So next time I'm going to have comparison between the existing and after renovation. So you could guess what it is. But yeah, see you next time.